team. He's a kid, Villanueva. No. Yeah.
Both the Spurs and the Clippers lost yesterday. They currently sit at the 7 and 8 seed in the West, respectively. Nick, what does this mean now for the Lakers' chances?
Listen, it means the Lakers aren't dead yet because yesterday was really good for them. The Spurs losing to the Knicks.
Yes.
Clippers getting blown out. You would expect them to lose to the Nuggets, but getting blown out the way they did, it means the Lakers' loss to the Pelicans wasn't as damaging as it could have been. But the flip side is, had they just taken care of business against the Pelicans, they'd be in really good shape given those losses. But it gives the Lakers a little breath of life.
Yeah, it sets them up that they can still get into the playoffs. You make a great point that now seeing with the other teams, the Spurs and the Clippers, we thought the Clippers after the trade deadline, based on the moves they made, that they were punting on the season, trying to get into the lottery, trying to get a high pick. The Spurs, we didn't expect that. So everything is set up for the Lakers to make a huge turnaround here the last stretch of the season.
All right, things are going from bad to still bad for the Boston Celtics. Their latest loss, a tough one to the lowly Bulls over the weekend. In fact, of the 4 teams with the worst records in the NBA, the Celtics have now somehow lost to 3 of them. The loss to Chicago drops them to the 5th seed in the East, but Kyrie Irving says Boston will be just fine come playoff time.
You know, it is what it is. Like I said, I don't get frustrated about this stuff anymore. It's just part of the regular season, you know, in the playoffs when we could plan for a team, prepare for a team. You know, I still don't see anybody beating us in 7 games.
It's starting to get to a point where you're concerned that the struggle you guys have with big game in the playoffs.
No, I'll be fine.
Why do you think that?
Because I'm here.
I guess LeBron told him to be a leader. He's trying to be a leader. He's listening. What do you think, Nick? What do you think about what Kyrie had to say?
Listen, Kyrie's not the problem. Kyrie wasn't the reason they lost to the Bulls, that horrible loss coming off a game where Kyrie was part of the problem, the 1-point loss to the Bucks when Kyrie was really bad until the end. But the Bulls, he was excellent, and they got beat badly by a terrible team. He can say, I don't see any team beating them in 7 games. Not any team ahead of them in the standings that I could confidently pick them beating in 7 games, except for Indiana, who's without Oladipo, but still, by the way, has held on to its spot.
Right, I think that's the most shocking stat in the NBA this season. Right now, the Indiana Pacers being the 3rd seed in the Eastern Conference.
They were the 3rd seed when Oladipo got hurt,
yes.
And everyone said, okay, they might fall out of the playoffs entirely or certainly to the bottom half of the bracket, and they're still there. The Celtics have been in 5th place in the East almost the entire year. And so even if they tick up a spot, you're looking at least you'd have home court for the 1st round, but not any time after that. And where are, other than Kyrie, let's just say Kyrie is a given, because the way he's playing right now, plus his playoff resume, I'll give that to him. I think he's earned it, that we think Kyrie, or I think Kyrie will show up and play well, assuming he's healthy. But who else do we know? Who else on the Celtics? We know we have a good idea of what Al Horford will give you, and that's it's very good defense, it's good leadership, and it's mediocre offensive numbers. But do we know what Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown? We might know what Gordon Hayward's going to give you in a negative way. Marcus Morris has been their 2nd best player on the team this year. Like, Kyrie's exuding confidence because maybe he has to, but deep down, I don't know that he can feel this way, because I don't know anyone can feel this way about the Celtics right now.
Yeah, I know that other Celtics don't feel that way. I believe that Kyrie is reaching. He's reaching a little bit for a LeBron-type quote. I don't believe he has the ability. I know I've seen him in the playoffs, but he's never taken over a series. He's never done what LeBron's done. So the confidence that his teammates have in him, they haven't seen Kyrie do it. I mean, they were just kids when Kyrie hits that shot against Golden State. We're in high school playing AAU ball. You think they're going to take that type of confidence? No, they're not. So they're in a bad spot. You do not want to be in that 5th spot. You do not want to play a 6-7 game series with Philadelphia to start the playoffs. Like, no, that is not the way that you want to start. I can understand Kyrie trying to get this team to be like, listen, if we get in one of these series, I do believe in our team, but they don't believe in each other. So I understand. He tried to stay positive, but the way they're playing, they're not gelling as a team this late in the season. And we have only seen, and to me, there's only 2 players right now, maybe 3, that will be able to say this. James Harden, if he was hurt, you go to the locker room and say, hey, man, you guys are struggling. Are you worried? He's like, no. Well, why not? Because I'm here. LeBron, okay, he can say that. Kyrie's not in that class. Just because he hit that shot to build in Game 7 against the Warriors, to me, that doesn't carry over to carrying a team from the 5th spot in the Celtics with this young, unproven team together. Like, you don't get that courtesy from me.
I agree. I wasn't saying I think he can carry them to the finals. But the point I'm making is, even prior, other than that shot, he's got multiple 40-point playoff games. We know that the playoff moment won't be too big for Kyrie, but does that mean he can overcome what is right now a team that doesn't know what its identity is, a team that doesn't know who its second best player is, a team whose young blue chip prospects in Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum have not gotten 8% better
I do
this
believe
year.
Kyrie's success will harm the Celtics team because they were successful without him. Kyrie Irving was successful without anyone else besides LeBron James, and he didn't want to give LeBron credit. So for me, that confidence, when you get in these playoff series, you know what Kyrie thinks right now? I can take it. That's not the way the Celtics are their best basketball team.
But not having an identity, not getting the guys to play together, lack of chemistry, doesn't that all fall on Brad Stevens?
Listen, there's not been a good year for Brad Stevens. I mean, remember last year, I thought he was the coach of the year, and then he didn't get a single vote from his colleagues. And it was really interesting when Dwayne Casey won, and the comments from some of the other coaches, when you read the articles where it was anonymous head coach this, a lot of people were saying, we've crowned him a little too early. Let's all calm down. You told me, you thought I crowned him a little too early when I said he is one of the best trade assets in the league, second best coach in the league to Popovich. He has not dealt with this season well, and we are now 75% of the way through it. Like it doesn't erase the good work he's done previously, but it does. Certain coaches are very good with certain teams. The best coaches are good. No matter what team you give me, I'll figure out a way to make it work. He has not yet figured out a way to make this team work.
All right, let's move on to some football now. Aaron Rodgers, after missing the playoffs for the 2nd straight year, the Packers are bringing in a new head coach to try and right the ship. Some of the criticism in Green Bay has begun to shift towards Aaron Rodgers himself, and that does not sit well with his former wide receiver and friend, Jordy Nelson.
It doesn't make sense. I think it's comical when I read those comments. Everyone knows negativity sells, that in all of media. If it's social media, print media, TV media, it's all about negativity. People feel better about themselves when they hear bad things about other people. That's why that gets more pub. I mean, no one wants to hear that Aaron's obviously a great quarterback, but a great leader and does everything right. All right, there's your story. What fun is that? So whenever they can go back to the well and get the same people saying the same stuff.
All right, Steve, what do you think about what Jordy Nelson had to say?
Well, Jordy Nelson, he's one of my favorite. And I've had conversations with Jordy Nelson, interviewing him, sitting down with him, spending time with him about Aaron Rodgers, about his career. So I got a lot of respect for Jordy Nelson. In Jordy Nelson's career, which has been a very, very successful one, you won't hear a lot of sound bites. You won't hear Jordy Nelson being quoted, saying things about other teams, opposition. So for me, the guys who have not said a lot, when you do get a sound bite from them, you know, I listen with a little more attent ear because this is not what they do. And through the years, not only Jordy Nelson, Greg Jennings, Donald Driver, and others, they've supported Aaron Rodgers. But I think that, Nick, in conversating with you about this subject, I think that your take on it is very, very unusual, and it made me look at it a different way.
I think that, you know how sometimes I say with NBA players, they were underrated for so long, they became overrated. The pendulum swung too far in the other direction. I think something similar is happening with Aaron Rodgers. Not in the underrated, overrated discussion, but for so long, anything wrong with the Packers was everyone's fault but Aaron's.
Aaron Rodgers.
It was never on him. And a lot of that was because of his exemplary play.
Yes.
But then you were like, you know what? In 2015, he wasn't great. And he does seem to have, have a prickly leadership style. And all of a sudden, we started poking away at it. And now it's swung so far in this direction. It's like, man, coach killer.
Now he can't be coached.
He can't be coached. Who, you know what I mean? He wants to pick his quarterback coach, wants to pick his wide receivers. He isn't a good teammate. In fact, I heard his family don't even like him. Like, we have swung so far in that direction that I don't think that's fair. And I don't think that's right. And I think that Aaron Rodgers is demanding. The most talented player in the league should be. Aaron Rodgers is frustrated. A guy who has seen a team just have a philosophy about free agency up until very recently, which was we don't participate, that would frustrate just about anyone. And the most excellent players almost always have a standard of excellence they hold themselves to that is very hard to not hold other people to. And I'm curious to you, sorry, Jenna, what would be, I brought it up on the show multiple times, but the first time you and I spent a lot of time together outside of work was that Super Bowl back in Houston. And so many people came up and were happy to see you, but not a lot of them were your teammates. And and you joked with me and you said, man, because I was like, everybody loves you. You're like, well, not a lot of these are guys I played with. And I'm just curious what your teammates would have said about you when you were in the phase of your career that Aaron Rodgers.
I just think sometimes when you are a leader, and sometimes when people within the organization, they believe that everything in the organization is centered around you, and also the talent. The talent level of Aaron Rodgers, it's hard to believe. It's the only time in football history that we have had the transition of a Hall of Fame quarterback to a more talented Hall of Fame quarterback. People say, oh, well, Joe Montana, Steve Young. Steve Young is not Joe Montana. And, man, Aaron Rodgers, if we were having an NFL draft of all the quarterbacks all time, Aaron Rodgers might get my first pick because he's that type of talent. And that type of talent, is his personality a little bit prickly? Yes. Is he a little bit different? Yes, a lot like the rest of us. So to me, that being liked by your teammates is not as important as being respected. And for me, the people who have played with Aaron Rodgers, the coaches that have coached him, they got a great deal of respect for him and his leadership there in Green Bay.
And what exactly did Aaron Rodgers do? He didn't want Alex Van Pelt, his quarterback coach, fired. He seemingly wanted them to keep Jordy Nelson there. Sure, he may have butted heads with Mike McCarthy, but they hadn't made the playoffs in a couple years. McCarthy shouldn't have maybe kept his job and was on the table that he could have left. So a prickly personality, but you're right. He's that talented that he warrants the ability or the freedom and the leeway to be able to, I don't know, demand a few things.
And it doesn't mean that he can't be criticized. It doesn't mean that if we want to break down what was the incredible non-interception streak he was on this year, you could make the argument that streak might have actually been slightly to the Packers' detriment. That one of the reasons that he had so many throwaways and so few interceptions was because he wasn't taking as many chances as the team needed him to. You can make the argument that he approached the relationship with the young receivers this offseason the wrong way. That those young guys, sometimes you'd see the sugar cube or the whip. And sometimes you go to the whip when it was needed to go to the sugar cubes. Like, some of these criticisms are fair, but we just went so quickly from none of the Packers' problems are Aaron Rodgers' fault to all of them are his fault that it didn't make sense to me. And I'm very curious to see how he deals with this season in the twilight of his prime with the new head coach in a team that's got a couple first-round picks that could be very active, either moving up in the draft, trading picks, player acquisition. Like, see how this version of Aaron Rodgers is and how the commentary from his former and current teammates sounds after this coming season.
Hey, I could be prickly. You guys know that. You still love me so much. A lot. There's a lot of love. Coming up are LeBron and the Lakers. You'll agree after in the break, probably. Are they in danger of missing the playoffs? That's ahead on First Things First.
It's the first day back. I ain't no need for me to give you no spicy comment and everything.